I've now got to solder on 2 of these connectors, and these then snap into the back of this plug. Now the plug will take up to 8 connectors. I've chosen the plug because it's this self-locating type of plug. This is actually the smallest one, so we're not using most of the ports, but reliability is what we're after. So that plug will bolt in here like that, you see. So I'm soldering them and crimping them, I suppose you could call it, a little bit anyway. I don't like to just rely on crimping personally. So I've run the cables, and I'll just show you, and then these, making sure you've got this lined up with this hole. You need to pick 2 of the connectors to connect them to. So when you push these in from the back, the curved sort of contact piece, the bit I'm squeezing at the top, that needs to face upwards. So I'm going to put this white one in the opposite side here, this one. I had to actually file this bottom edge a little bit, because the whole point of this socket is it can actually wiggle about a little bit, about a mil in all directions. You see how that's loose? That's intentional, so that as you plug it in, it self-locates. Okay, see, so it's loose, moves around a bit, that's what we want, so all good. That's reasonably neat and tidy. I've just taped it for now. It's nowhere near the key stems. There's a little bit of extra cable here, allows this plug to move around a little. Glued. The USB cable is glued at multiple points, so you can't rip it out, and this one's glued across the top. Next thing to do is fit the battery charger, the battery holder with this little cap, solder in the MIDI plug and its mount here, 3D printed, wire up the screen, and then if we really, well, I might actually test it at that point with the back plate pushed in but not glued on. Right, this is the battery holder. The idea is to put a battery in it that's rechargeable. It's rechargeable by plugging a micro USB male plug into there from a wall charger, like a Android phone charger or something, usually something lying around the house. And then this this cable from the end of your Digi Gurdy, you would plug it into there like that, and it will come on and it will power the Digi Gurdy if you're in wireless mode. If you're not in wireless mode, then this, you put an extension USB lead onto there and plug it into an iPad or an iPhone or something, and it will power itself from the phone. But I've given you this, so if you wish, you can put a battery in it if you wish to go wireless later on. It's held in with this locating cap, which is on the end here. You undo 2 screws, it's like that. Undo 2 screws and pull it out, and it'll slide out. You undo the back end. So I haven't modified this at all. This, you could buy one of these yourself. This comes out, and you put the 18650 lithium-ion battery, if that's what's to search for on eBay, in there. It's the sort that doesn't have a bump on the top. It's flat both ends. Right, see how that slides in like that, and it will in fact hit this panel here. You might have to put a small filler piece in there. Now in the end I had to glue a tiny fragment of wood in there. You could use a piece of cardboard or foam or anything, so it just butts up against it when this just butts up against this end surface here. Right, the next thing is we need to do a test fit of this. It should just go in like that. These 2 sockets fit into these holes, and you can see there's a locating bump here on this one. which shows you which way round to put it, because there's a matching recess just there. You need to test that these fit before you glue them in. The other thing is you've got to cut off these spring tabs each side and file them smooth, so it's basically a cylinder except for that little bump there. And they're pushed through. We're going to wire everything up to this one, because one is transmit, one is receive, but the receive isn't doing anything. This is our wiring diagram. So we're going to use these 3 middle pins, 220 ohm that side from the power, which is the red wire, 10 ohm that side, and ground. And if you look in here, you'll remember that they are actually marked for you. Well, I've covered them with glue, but they're marked there, and I've actually used the red wire as the power. So here you can see it's kind of upside down, but there's the wires coming in, the 2 resistors, and the whole thing's been potted with hot glue gun glue, one of these. Don't fill this whole thing up to the brim with glue, because there's a reason there's a recess here. It's to allow the hooking mechanism to come in. The hook comes in below about here, so just be careful, don't overdo the glue. Okay, so I put a little bit of glue down there, a little bit on the bottom, although this is held in with screws as well. Now we'll just slide it back into place. There we go. So there are the 3 screws, which should locate with holes pre-printed into this structure here. I've loaded some software onto it. I'm just doing a basic check. Sorry it's flickering, I think it's the way the camera works. Everything works, the transmitter sockets work as well. So now I'm happy everything works. I'm going to glue this into its surround, put the rear panel on, glue it on properly, and then start to work on the main body of the device. Now you slide the screen in from this side, then I use a thin piece of card, fold it over and push it gently behind it, so as it unfolds it pushes the screen forward, and then you sort of manipulate the screen very, very carefully till it's perfectly aligned with the window. Then when you're happy, you put a tiny blob of glue, just without touching it, there and there, and when you've done that you can take this out and put another dab there. I'll let those set, then I'll slide this out and I'll put 1 dab of glue just around here. Right, there it is, just there. This will fit through here diagonally. Then do a test fit. So you put it in, you hook it up, put the bottom in, hook it down, check that it fits properly, check the hole lines up there, and then you can just put a screw in and it will hold it. Okay, here we go. If we take a look at the handle, this end, it's got a recess in the 3D print here, which allows for the heads of these screws. The screw for this side, you either use a very short one or you cut the tip off, otherwise it projects through here, so it needs to be flush. So you can see I've cheated with this one. I screwed it in all the way to cut a thread, and then I sawed it down. So I've threaded the screen through the hole, put it back into place, make sure the wiring is nowhere near the first set of key stems. Take a small self-tapping screw and the screen should be, wrong screwdriver, should be held in place. I've made it as easy as possible for you. The next thing I need to do is check that this fits onto these. So you can always take a piece of, if you've got a piece of spare 6mm ply, just check that they are the right height, that it will go under. So that's good, that just grips, and the same for that one. So the next thing is, are they in the right spacing? The other thing I'm going to do is just file the sides of these at an angle, so that as the Keybox goes down, it just self-locates like this, just a little tiny bit, not much. Okay, so I'm going to just wax them now, which I've found in the past works really well as a kind of lubricant. Just rubbing it with an old candle. Now you see how much easier it goes? There we are. Now this 3D printed part may seem a bit unusual. It has a top and a bottom. Bottom side smooth, top side you can see these little bumps. Okay, and in any case it will only go in one way. It goes into these 4 little holes here, and it does need a little bit of filing, but then it should be a push fit. Well, what's it for is these 2 keys and this one, the stems are completely offset, so the key here runs across here but the stem is there, so if it's even slightly loose fit in the socket there, the key will drop down and twist, fall down and be angled in front of the key wheel, and you actually see this on real hurdy-gurdies. So what happens is the edge of the key will just rest on this little strip of plastic, and it's the same with these 2 slots, one here, one here. We have a piece like this which I may actually redo in laser cut ply. You can see if you push it into the socket there, put it at an angle, you'll see that this key, which has an offset stem, will just rest on it, and again it stops it falling over to one side and being wonky. And the only other one of these is here as well. So if you look at this one I made earlier, you can see that the keys are in a straight line, and for instance this one doesn't fall over, neither does that one. Same with these top 3. I in the end glued this in with super glue at the 4 points, and these 2 I've now made in as laser cuts, and they're glued in just with the tight bond wood glue. Now this is a refinement that I've decided to add. These 2 panels help locate this. See, there's a tiny little bit of movement there. So what we do, we have these panels, you glue them to this, so this line here is level with this edge, and in fact they'll just butt up against these 2 bolt heads as well, like that. This edge is flush with this edge, so I would glue it in place, clamp it, and then just for good measure I've given you 2 holes here and here. You can put a screw through or a small bolt, and what these do, and the one on the opposite side here, is when this is docked it just sort of acts as a guide, and it just stops any sort of slight rattling there. It just stops it, it just locks it, holds it tight.